Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jake from College Football Red Zone coming in with another episode of the Spring First Look series where I take that holistic 50,000 foot look of all 138 FBS programs, in that we take a look at some of the notable arrivals and departures from each team, maybe even a freshman or two to keep an eye on, depending on the nature of the recruiting class. Oh, and how about some record predictions to go with each single team? I did one for all 138 programs. So I hope you've been enjoying this series, man. It's been really been a pleasure to be able to do this and bring this to YouTube for the very first time. So because of all the work that is done in the background to make this happen, I really need you to go ahead and do a few things for me. I need you to go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, because of the work that's done in showing some love by doing those two things, which doesn't take very long to do. I would truly appreciate that, because it helps grow the channel ultimately. And then let me know your thoughts in the comment section, just general feedback, or what you think about this particular team that we're about to reveal. Which, if you are watching this video, you know what I'm about to say, about to come out of my mouth, for the 118th ranked team in college football. And that is going to be the South Alabama Jaguars, representing the Sun Belt Conference, entering the 2026 campaign. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of team that we see from South Alabama this year, because in year number one for Major Applewhite, Major Applewhite had a really good year, and had South Alabama in contention for the Sun Belt title. And there was some losses, but there was still some expectations for South Alabama being a relatively good football team entering this season. And then shit just hit the bed with Major Applewhite and his squad last year. They were in the bottom of the Sun Belt last year, with the exception of the likes of the Warhawks as well as Georgia State, who we revealed earlier. So not as much enthusiasm going into this season, as they do come in as my 118th ranked team and one of the lower ranked teams that I do have in the Sun Belt entering this year. Now, with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into why I'm not as excited about this team. It's not just because they had a rough 2025 campaign, but it was also the nature of what happened to them in the transfer portal as well. They lost some key pieces in the transfer portal, and I just don't know if they came out here, and I don't think they really backfilled well enough to have the same kind of talent, because this was a decently talented football team for what their overall record was. Unfortunately, they didn't really put it together last year, but decent amount of continuity. But again, losing some of those key pieces, when you're talking about Breck Long, who is a tight end, transfers to North Texas, and that was someone that not only was going to start for South Alabama, but that was a potential breakout player and maybe could have elevated himself to a possible star player. And I think someone that shines in North Texas system under Neil Brown. So that will be interesting to see how his career progresses as he leaves Mobile, Alabama, and goes out to the Denon Desert, as they call it out there in Denton, Texas, to play under Neil Brown, the new head coach of the Mean Green. But my concern reliably primarily comes out to the defensive side of the ball, because the defense had its fair share of issues, and I would arguably understand that it was the biggest issue that that this team had last season. And I think that it's going to be worse, to be honest with you. Wesley Miller, the safety out of South Alabama, he's now going to be part of the FIU football team, and he had 60 tackles last season. Defensive line, Ed Smith the fourth, transfers to Tulane and possibly a breakout player for the Green Wave under Will Hall. Could be a star. Definitely was going to be a starter for this Jaguars team this season. And then looking elsewhere on the defensive side of the ball, Blaine Byrick, who transfers to Miami of Ohio, 83 tackles, 6 TFLs. That's a lot of production that they're going to have to replace. And alongside Nahima Chandler, who is going to head out to the Power Conference ranks, multiple interceptions last year, but had some dropped interceptions too. 13 pass breakups. So just law of averages. Naheem Chandler could have easily had 4 or 5 interceptions if some of those past breakups ended up elevating in a different way. It's not all bad for South Alabama in the transfer portal. They did add Macy Lewis, who transfers in from McNeese, and he had 5.5 sacks at the FCS ranks, and is one of the more notable pickups that they had. But the reason why I don't have them lower at this time being is for two reasons. I do think that Major Applewhite is at least a solid head coach. I don't know if he is a good or great coach. I don't think that he's terrible by any means. I do think Major Applewhite is certainly a solid, not in that liquid or a gas type of way. So I think he's a decent head coach that's going to be able to find a way to maybe eke out some wins and is going to be better than maybe what people are expecting, given how things work down the transfer portal and the lack of really exciting true freshman pieces to be excited about for this team. So that's one thing. I also think that South Alabama did get a little bit unlucky in terms of how games ended up playing out, as well as how their injury luck ended up being. They had some issues at the quarterback position. They do have their quarterback back in Bishop Davenport, who now has a year of starting experience. That continuity is still generally there. So there is a path for South Alabama to at least be better than what they were this time last year, which leads me into the second part of this conversation, and that is going to be your what that schedule is going to look like for South Alabama in terms of how I think this is going to go. And I look at South Alabama and I genuinely believe that, hey, you're looking at a program that could genuinely just win a couple of games, right? Southeast Louisiana and ULM, those are the two safe wins, right? Between them and the Warhawks. Expect them to win the FCS game. I think they're good enough to comfortably win that FCS matchup to start the season, as well as ULM being one of the worst programs, arguably the worst team in the Sun Belt. You have them at home. I think that's going to be a safe win as well. But then beyond those two wins for South Alabama, you're really talking about a team where they're gonna have to find ways to gut out wins, right? You First and foremost, there's a few games on here that I don't expect to win outright, especially Tulane on the road, especially Kentucky on the road as well. I think those two teams are still too tough for South Alabama at this time. Arkansas State, I think, is starting to find their footing under Butch Jones as well. So for Arkansas State, that's going to be a tough matchup. Marshall is getting better under Tony Gibson too. So that's a game to watch. And then the Raging Cajuns, we talked about them briefly in the last episode, but the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, just to summarize those thoughts from the last episode, they had guys not expected to play last year. They played, and now they're going to be starting this year, and that's going to really help out Louisiana moving forward, improve from their 6-6 record. So some tough games in here for sure. I think they're going to struggle to make a bowl game happen. It's certainly possible, though. They'll have to find a way to really 5 games to keep an eye on, and I think they're going to have to win 4 of them. It's the Ohio game at home, and Ohio is breaking in yet another head coach, their third one in the last 3 years. That Ohio football team is not a very strong football team. Maybe a team that we talk about sooner rather than later in the rankings. Just a little bit of a spoiler there. Louisiana Tech, what does Louisiana Tech look like in the Sun Belt? If they were going to stay in this CUSA, we might be talking about Louisiana Tech as a potential CUSA contender. But because he's in the Sun Belt, might be a little bit more of a middle of a road team. I do think that the South Alabama program, the model has Louisiana Tech as a 2-point favorite here, but I actually trust their program, the South Alabama program, in comparison to the Bulldogs. But I think that an upset is possible here. So I actually had that marked as a win, even though South Alabama is an underdog at home. And then you got to find a way to win 2 of 3, assuming you win those 2 games. That's Troy at home, and Troy did go to the Sun Belt title game last year. But that is because the game's at home. I would consider that a winnable game, but they will come in as an underdog, about a touchdown underdog in that situation. Appalachian State to end the year as well. And then at Southern Miss, being one of the bottom programs in the Sun Belt. But because you're on the road, giving a slight nil to the Golden Eagles, as South Alabama isn't much better at this time than Southern Miss. So 5-7 record, that's what I'm currently projecting for the Jaguars going into the spring period in 2026. Definitely possible for them to exceed that. And it wouldn't be too much of an exaggeration and wouldn't be far from the realm of realistic for them to get to 7-5 and be a bowl participant at the end of the year. But that's South Alabama in a nutshell. I am very curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are down below in terms of what you guys think of the South Alabama football team. I had them ranked at 118. Is that a reasonable ranking, or do you think they should be higher, should be lower? Definitely want to hear your reasoning in the comments section. And with that being said, if you enjoyed the entirety of this video, first of all, thank you for doing that. It means the world to me to help grow this channel out as we prepare for another incredible college football season ahead of us. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. It does help grow the channel tremendously, and it shows some validation for all the work that's done behind the scenes to be able to deliver this to you guys as well. But with that being said, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.